wanted the best? You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hello, this is Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There are ladies that makes official. Welcome to 16 years, 24 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. We're going to get into it with some amazing authors today, and but in the meantime, we need to go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. We have today with us the author of The Chinese Conspiracy, out December 3rd, 2024, by John Mariotti. We're going to talk to him as books. He's got multiple books, by the way, and we're going to get into all that. He's written a lot of books that you can find on Amazon and how they came into being. He got his education at Bradley University and then University of Wisconsin. He got married, started his career, which now spans more than 45 years. It's easiest to describe it in these three stages. First part was an engineer. Second stage was running entire companies when he became president at 38. The third stage, trying to find it here. There's a lot here. The later stages of career.
I'll fill all that in for you if you want.
Sure. Let's start off with a book, though, John. Give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Okay. The title of the book, The Chinese Conspiracy, if you run that all together and put .com after it, you can go see a website that's been in existence for a long time that's got more than you'd ever want to know about it. You can also go on YouTube at the ChineseConspiracy.com and see a trailer for the book. And you can probably find it all over the internet because I've been posting and press releasing and doing all that stuff, and it's all around. I'd rather tell you about what the book's all about than that. Please. I can tell you about my career. I'm an old guy.
Let's start with the book, and then we'll touch on the bio, too.
Okay. We've been having some trouble with the technology here.
Yeah.
Today. I've had trouble with my MacBook. You had trouble with your timing. That's a good lead-in.
There you go.
This book is about a bunch of Chinese bad guys who are technology leaders in China, and they don't like the leaders in China, so they're going to try to throw them out. But first, they want to dominate the United States, so they come up with clever ways to take every kind of software you can imagine. And as you know, China, you probably know China is the biggest hacking place in the world. They have universities all over to do it. And so they can shut down everything all at once.
Wow.
I mean, everything.
That doesn't sound fun.
GPS, which the military uses, air traffic control, the banking system, Wall Street, email, phones, everything. Mm-hmm. And the book opens with a series of vignettes that tells the story pretty good, because there's a street scene in New York and all you hear is cars honking, and a guy looks out the window and says, "What the hell's going on out here?" Well, all the lights were green at one time. They were hacked. The next thing happened, they said, "Well, let's call Verizon." He said, "Why? We can't call Verizon. Nothing works." And he said, "Let's get on the radio and the TV and see if anything's on there." Nope, nothing works there either. "Well, let's go online." No, nothing works there either. So then they cut away to a casino in Las Vegas. And they say, "We might have to shut down the casino." And say, "We don't shut down the casino for anything." He said, "We're going to for this time because nothing works."
Nothing works.
Now, this is what the bad guys are doing. And they have been planning this for a long time. Just like this book has been in process for about 2 decades as cyber terrorism has gone crazy.
Yeah.
The cyber terrorist experts have gone crazy too. There are 21 billion network devices around the world today, if you haven't heard that number.
Oh, yeah.
And you probably are well aware of it. The problem is all those network devices are perfect candidates for hacking. Mm-hmm. And the book story starts this way with our hometown is a small town in West Virginia, and the guy's getting panic calls from his friends. They're saying, "Where are you? Come back." He's a consultant. He knows all about this stuff. He comes back. He found the town is being devastated. Why? Because the Chinese caused their plant to fail because they wanted to use the facility, and nobody knows that they did it or why they did it. Mm-hmm. And the Chinese have installed a whole hacking thing in a tunnel. West Virginia's coal mining country. So they found a mountain about 2,000 feet tall. They found a tunnel that goes into it, a nice cave down there, perfect headquarters. So they're set up there, and the people in town just don't know what's happening. Because at 2 or 3 in the morning, while they're testing all these shut everything down stuff, nothing works, and they're afraid, as that you might get, and their jobs are gone. They don't know what to do next. Well, my hero gets home, and so he's going to try and help. So he starts asking questions. His name is Jim. And the good news about Jim is he finds when he gets home that the girl he always wanted in high school is no longer married to the football quarterback who has become a drunken bum. She's available. And he meets her, and they join up. And so she's filling in all the stuff that's going on in this town that everybody is going crazy about. It's a pretty interesting story because there's just a few of these Chinese bad guys that are at the headquarters of this, and they're over in Guangzhou, which used to be Canton, and they just are doing unbelievable things. Nobody knows what to do. Just imagine they've shut down all the communications around Washington D.C. So all the Washington D.C. folks can't talk to each other about figuring out what's wrong.
Oh wow!
There's no way for anybody. Verizon comes on at New York and they said, well, let's call somebody and do something. Call somebody how? It's a preposterous but deadly realistic possibility.
Yeah,
it could happen next month.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on right now. Chinese hacking, and they attack nuclear facilities, power plants, all that sort of stuff. That's been going on for a long time.
Well, and these poor folks in West Virginia, they're good guys, but they're innocent. They don't know what to do. So this guy he's Jim Martini is his name, and he's a stubborn guy. When he was a wrestler in high school, they called him Mule because he never gave up. Well, he decides he's going to dig in and find out what's wrong. Well, you can guess the rest parts. He starts getting beaten up by mysterious people at night. Then he gets some allies. His girlfriend's son just got out of the Army Communications, so he's a good ally. He can go in and find all this stuff, and so they start digging into it. Well, the next thing you know, they go up to the top of the mountain to see what's going on there, and they find a whole series of satellite dishes and antenna and everything. Well, this is clearly the headquarters. Well, but they're not supposed to be up there, so the bad guys start chasing them.
Oh.
They chase him down the mountain. They wreck his brakes on the car, so the car won't stop. And now Jim's trying to figure out how to stop the car, going down a curvy mountain road with all kinds of big ruts in it. Well, the bad news is he tries to do it by rubbing it against the wall. That doesn't work. All that does is nearly throw him off the mountain road.
Yeah.
Then the next thing he does is he tries to hit a rut to slow him down. Well, that just causes the gas tank to break and the car goes on fire. So now he's in a flaming car going down the mountain, and he eventually figures out he better bail out. And so he does. He bails out. He's alive, beaten up, but they're chasing him down this mountain in an SUV, shooting at him.
Yeah.
And he's hiding in the weeds. This is the way it's a story that's so realistic that it's almost preposterous that you can imagine.
Yeah, if you read the news and what's going on today. Yeah. So we don't want to give the full story out because we want to get people to buy the book. But it's a good synopsis. How they fix it.
Here's one sentence, Chris. Burn this in your brain. What happens when nothing works? Go home and disconnect everything you have that's electronic and see what happens. Nothing happens.
Yeah, it's pretty boring.
It's crazy.
Yeah, time the internet goes out, at the house or something, like you get angry. You're just like, what the hell? I can't communicate with the world. What's going on here? It's
well, and if you add that, if you throw that in and say, often that happens during lightning storms here in the Midwest, and a lightning storm happens, not only that, your power goes out too. So now your cell phone was the only thing you had to rely on.
And it's out of power.
But now it won't work either because it's run down. And so
you can't win.
This is a story that I've been percolating for a long time. I wrote it the first time almost 20 years ago. I was not nearly as capable because I wrote business books all the way along, and you'd recognize a lot of those. I have a copy of one you mentioned the other day. It's called The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge. And when I was running a big company, I was using that book as a guide map for how to do a learning organization. So our paths have not crossed, but they've paralleled each other, I think, except that you're much more famous than I am and probably doing well.
No one cares.
Working on the farm.
I have $5 in my bank account. So what, you've written the two other books I think I have for your Marketing Express and the Shape Shifters.
Well,
is that correct?
I've written 12 business books.
Okay.
And I'll run them down for you because it's logical. The first book I wrote was The Power of Partnerships because I was working with Sam Walton and Walmart. And so I knew him and I wrote that book. Then I wrote one called The Shapeshifters. And The Shapeshifters was about continuous change for competitive advantage, which Peter Senge book was the one that encouraged me to write that because that's sort of what his is all about. Have kind of a plan, got all these things you have to put together. Along the way, this idea for the Chinese conspiracy was percolating in my brain because writing fiction is much harder, but it's fun because you can make whatever you don't have, you can make up. I found I didn't have to make up much in this Chinese conspiracy. It was all out there. All you had to do is start digging around and you find it. In the meanwhile, I wrote books like The Complexity Crisis, which got an award, in which I lamented the fact that we have buried ourselves in complexity. I mean, just go and try and buy what brand, try and buy what you need. You need Tylenol or you need something for your tooth problem. There's only 47 choices to choose from. Just what you needed, right?
That's what I needed.
And you can have the same thing if you go to buy pasta sauce or anything else. There's too many choices. So that was a book called The Complexity Crisis. The latest one I wrote is one that would be great fun for anybody. I didn't market it very hard. It's called Rocket Ships and Parachutes. And it's autobiographical. And it talks about my career. And it gives lessons from every job I've had, and there have been a lot of them. And a friend of mine's a retired admiral. He said, this book is like having a mentor in your hand. And I said, yeah, it is, because I give an example of what happened and what I learned from it. And every page you find 2 or 3 new ones. But meanwhile, the Chinese conspiracy has been gnawing at me because every time I open the newspaper, something else is happening. And I got the idea for the Chinese conspiracy back when I was reading about how to write fiction, because I read Stephen King on writing. And he said something that stuck with me ever since. He said, don't try and decide where your story is going. Tell the story yourself and see where it goes. And that's exactly what I did. It results in some very interesting twists in writing when you don't exactly know where you're going from the point you're at now to the point you're going to next, but you have a rough idea. And when I heard about your show, I thought this is the perfect place to talk about this crossover between fiction and business.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody that reads the Chinese conspiracy loves it. I mean, well, there were 2 people that were not very happy with it.
Oh.
Three if you count the guy.
There's always one of those, right?
Well, he begged me to give him an early press proof, and then he wrote a bad review because there were typos in it. Come on, man.
Even the ARC copy, the advanced reader copy.
Yeah.
It clearly usually states in it that it's an advanced copy. It's like when I get ARC copies from the publishers, there's a big warning on it. There's a label on the book, don't resell this, and like a lot of times I'll open it and there's no table of contents.
Right.
Because they're still working it out on the book. And yeah, that's hilarious. I mean, it is people. What can you do with them? Well, some people shouldn't breed.
I'll return to my first reason for being here is I want to sell more copies of the Chinese conspiracy, because if I could wish out loud for a minute, I would wish that it could be made into a streaming miniseries for movies, because it is perfect for that. I wrote it for that. He gets in all this trouble different ways while he's trying to figure out, this is 3 or 4 people in a small town trying to fight these Chinese monoliths over in China, and he doesn't care. He's going to get in their way. He's going to stop them, and he ain't going to give up. So finally, he gets his high school buddy, who's now a congressman, to get him some help out of Washington. And the Chinese haven't got it working well enough yet that they can shut everybody down exactly now, but they're going to get it to where they can shut it down whenever they want and turn it back on. That's their plan. And then they're going to use that for extortion to get something out of the good old USA, because they always want to dominate the USA. But better than that, they're going to plant incriminating evidence in the records of the stupid old men in Beijing, because they disagree with the way China's being run. So they want to get both of them off at one time. Big plans. And here's my poor little small town with 3 or 4 people and a congressman, and they get a team of people, 3 people from Washington, who finally come out there to help them. And I won't tell you any more about that, because the Chinese conspiracy is a lie. It's a big problem.
Yeah, we want people to buy the book too. You can't give away too much, otherwise.
Well, you can buy the book. You can go anywhere online. I'm still working on the bookstores because they always want you to guarantee a whole bunch of sales. But any place online you can buy it. Amazon's got it. Barnes and Noble has got it. I mean, name any online source. Goodreads, they've got it. And if you read Kindle, you can get it for like $5. And I'm in the process of working on getting an audiobook version of it online too. I did the first paperback first, and then I did the Kindle, and then I did the audiobook, still waiting in line. But they're all in the plans and would happen pretty quickly.
There you go.
So
a lot of what you're talking about is topical. What era or timeline or age is this in? Is it in the future? Is it current, present day? How do you build out the story there?
Okay. I used a device on the story because this story evolved over 20 years in my mind. And in fact, the first hacking was spawned by something called worm viruses back about 20 years ago. And the reason that was so troubling is before that, they had used a thing called denial of service, which means they just overload a place with too much stuff. And then all the computers shut down for a while and it's offline for an hour while they reboot everything. And then it comes back on. But these worms, they put a piece of code in the computer code. And so every time somebody tries to do something, the worms change. They're programmed to change. So that the piece that they found is no longer the right piece anymore. So they're called polymorphic. That's a nice big techie word for means constantly changing. And when that happens, it creates a huge problem for people who are trying to prevent it. Plus the fact that most people don't like to screw around with patches on software.
Oh yeah.
Microsoft was everywhere. So Microsoft was putting on these big. Well, this book took 20 years for the story to build up. I write it as if it's in the present time, but in the book I've inserted a narrator at 3 or 4 pivotal spots to bring the reader up. And the other thing I did is I put about 2 pages of technical terms. So after they read about 20 or 30 of the page of the book, this bad guy in China is a real bad guy. I mean, he's not a very nice guy. He's not very attractive, but he likes his sweet little secretary, and so he's doing some bad things to her, which is a bad thing. He's got a big muscular guy who likes his answer to everything is let's kill him. So if we want to get rid of him, let's get him out of the way. And in some respect, these are stereotypical customer people, but they're really very much what you find in a real enterprise like this. They do everything under the, nobody knows about them. They only put a couple of people in. And what started all this, if you've lived long enough to know about Y2K, remember Y2K?
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That was 2000.
Everybody was hiring programmers. Well, my Chinese guys, because they knew they wanted to do this, they just didn't know how to do it. They hired some programmers who were programming Y2K. You got some Pakistanis that were very good at it, and now they're part of the gang. And so they put backdoors in all these programs for them. A backdoor lets anybody that knows it's there with the right passcode get in and do whatever they want with it. And so this is how they were able to get such a remarkable reach to all the different software, because they were doing everything for everybody, and everybody was giving them open. Come on in. Here's our system. Here's the codes. Fix it. Well, as you remember, Y2K turned out to be a big nothing burger.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was a big bird.
It made a lot of money for programmers, but it didn't do anything. The computer just ignored it and went right on, and everything was fine. Yeah. So as I wrote this book, and it's been evolving over, like I said, over 20 years, the hackers have gotten more numerous. They do it more often. I don't know if I believe the statistics I read, but they said something like there's a hack every hour of the day. And it's a serious one. I just had someone tell me that a friend told me that a hospital system, I won't tell you where, because a hospital system was shut down. I mean, they're hacked. They can't do anything. And it's a ransomware deal.
Yeah. A lot of that going on right now.
Pay us $1 million or $2 million and we'll give you back the keys to your system.
Yeah. It's some of my first 10 marriages.
Sam Kinison used to have a thing to say about that, but it's not suitable for general.
I love Sam. I miss Sam so much. I miss him.
So anyway, I tell people, if you buy this book and enjoy it, there's a really cool love story in it, because as I said, my hero comes back and finds the girl he always wished was his now. And she's very happy that she's his, and her son's back out of the Army, and he helps them this. And by the way, the CIA sent them a cute little CIA girl in to help them, and not a girl, but a young woman who's really good at stuff. And there's a couple of other themes in there that engage the human element, because I didn't want this to be a book about tech stuff. It's really not. It's a book about, I saw so many plants get shut down by work going to China when I was in the business world, that's where the idea of this was born originally. Mm-hmm. So many U.S. plants have gotten killed because all the work went to China. So I used that as my premise, and the Chinese as my bad guys. I mean, what better group of bad guys? The Russians are bad, but they're not as bad as the Chinese. So all that stuff was born as a result of a career of 45 or 50 years working with businesses at all levels. I mean, and you know, I had the good fortune to be successful in some of them, and run for 10 years. I ran the biggest bicycle company in the world, which is pretty cool. That's Huffy Bicycles.
Oh, yeah, Huffy. Yeah, I think I might have had a Huffy.
People didn't know that we were making 4 million bikes a year in 1991.
Did you do it during COVID? Because evidently bikes came back during COVID.
No, they came back because the reason they came back was the Chinese came over and killed the bike business by undercutting everybody in the U.S. Yeah. And then, of course, tariffs is a magic word these days, but the tariffs were totally unfair. There were no tariffs on bikes coming into the U.S., so they could get them in here real easily. So they killed all the U.S. bike manufacturers except for the hand-built bikes, the racing bikes, and all the volume bikes are made in China now. In fact, and then the fitting punishment they had, they forced Huffy into bankruptcy, but the biggest creditor was the Chinese credit insurance company. So the Chinese took a bath on it as well. It was being from that industry. I said it's a good industry to be from, because you don't want to be in an industry that's attacked by the Chinese very often.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't care about the law.
They love my website. We get attacked internationally. The Chris.
I bet you do.
Daily. It's like an assault all the time.
I mean,
it's fun.
That I'd love sometime to hear about how you deal with that, because that's not
we have programs
to deal with.
Yeah, there's programs. I think it's WordFence. I think it's a program called WordFence, and it defends against all that stuff. It shuts down all the crap. But it's not perfect. You know, there's all new ways they figure out to get in. It's pretty wild. I remember
a lawyer explained to me one time, whenever you go after somebody legally, there's only one way you can win, and at least 2 or 3 you can lose. Yeah. You know, one is that you win, but you don't get anything. The other one is that you don't win. The third one is that you win, but in the process of winning, you spend all your money and you can't do what you want to do otherwise. True. And it's a shame, but I mean, England had the right idea. Loser pays. But the U.S. didn't import that when we came from England.
Yeah. Well, you know, whatever got us here. So with this book, do you see future editions? Like maybe you're going to take the protagonist who's featured in the story and maybe run him through some other scenarios, kind of like the Tom Clancy books. We have those authors on.
Well, I did something with this book that left me the open door for that. I won't say who it is or what it is, but you always have to let some bad guy escape.
Oh yeah.
And we're open. And I started writing the sequel to it, but my wife, after writing 13 business books and a novel, my wife was sort of getting a little impatient with me, because when you're writing, you're not really there. Your body is there, but your mind is somewhere else. So what I'd like to do most is get this book to really get launched and have a filmmaker produce it for about a 5-episode miniseries. I've had a screenwriter write the screenplay for it. It's not perfect, but then anybody that gets the rights to it will want to rewrite it with their own screenwriter anyway. This book is the perfect book for that, because it's only, I put the scenes that are important all in this place in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. It could be anywhere in that kind of mountainous terrain, small towns. And my good guy only goes to China one time. So there's only one set of scenes that have to do with going to China, and then he almost gets trapped over there because they offer him a ride to the airport, and then he sees they're not going anywhere near the airport, and he has to bail out of the car and hide from them for a while. And it's I use classic thriller tricks to get people to stay involved. Chapters are short for the most part. The only time the chapters are long is if they're going into a long involved plan or an action scene that you can't write in 2 or 3 pages. So everybody that has read it so far says God, this is scary, but it's realistic. This is so much fun to read. And I think, well, thank you. Please give me some more ratings. So they started giving me ratings now. I just put this out on the market broadly right at the end of the year. So I'm waiting still for all the ratings to come up, and I'm doing press releases and internet posts, and I'm posting on Facebook and on LinkedIn, all the places that you do things to get publicity for it. But my best publicity thus far is a show that I heard about called the Chris Voss Show.
Really? Where is that?
They told me that this guy is one of the most listened to podcasters in the world. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. It's top 1% podcast. I think we're close to 10 million downloads. Yeah. We have a few people listening. Yeah, I mean, after 16 years and 24 episodes, if you're not listening to this, like, what do you care? Or why? What's going on? So is there anything in the works on this next book that you're working on?
Well, yeah, it's about 2/3 written.
Okay.
But one of the problems that you have, I've discovered, when you write about cyber terrorism, it changes so fast that you can't get a snapshot of it. So I changed the approach. In the next time I do one, I've got a title for it already, and it's about 2/3 written, and it's called The Year of Fear. And the Year of Fear is whatever year it is when I get it done writing it. But the bad guys are still partly Chinese, and there's a few other bad guys in it. Middle Easterners get involved, and some rednecks in hillbilly rednecks get involved too, because they get mad at the government. And what they decide to do in the Year of Fear is they pick a whole year, and every major event in the U.S. in a year, they cause something bad to happen. Like the balls dropping on New Year's Eve, and it gets down to 3 on the countdown, and it blows up.
Oh, that's never good.
Not good. Or you have the kickoff for the Super Bowl, and bombs have been planted under all the buses. Nobody gets killed, maybe, but they blow up all the team buses that are parked in the lot.
Wow.
And then you can go on through the year and find that sort of thing. But that's a whole separate book to write. And what I'm trying to do first is get the Chinese conspiracy on everybody's desk and everybody's hands, because people keep asking me about it. And I say, well, I can't tell you how it ends. I don't want to tell you how it ends. But the answer is, just ask yourself this question every time you try to. What happens when nothing works? What do I do then? How do I cope with that?
Yeah. I mean, I've had that when the internet goes out and the power goes out. So let's flesh some things out here. You've written some books, The Shapeshifters, and then you've written some business books. Did you start off writing business books and then you moved into novels and stuff?
No. What I did was, here's the thumbnail of my life. I'm an old guy. For the first 30 years of my life, I ran companies.
Okay.
I ran at age 25. I was running the group that was doing the packaging for electronics for the worldwide digital switching system for GTE, which is where I got my chops in learning about how digital systems work. Then I went to a small company that made lawn sprinklers, L.R. Nelson, good company. They were doing $6 million in sales, and I stuck around there for a while. About 10 years, they were doing $46 million. And I got an opportunity to move to Huffy to do a startup of a bike division in Oklahoma. And the bad news was that the division didn't make it because the recession hit in 82, 83. But I landed being the guy who ran the consolidation of 3 bike businesses, and took it over at 11,000 bikes a day production. It was located in Ohio. And when I left 10 years later, it was making 21,000 bikes a day with 10% fewer employees. Talk about good, hardworking German Catholic farmers. They were terrific. And so as I did that, I learned a lot of stuff. I took a brief stint with Rubbermaid. I went in there when they were America's most admired company and discovered that you can't believe everything you read. Never mind, I won't say any more about that. But then I decided to do freelancing because I had been writing. I'd been a good interviewer for magazines. So Industry Week liked me. So they would interview me. So finally said, would you like to be a management columnist for us? So for 5 years, I wrote columns for Industry Week. Along the way, I started writing for Forbes.com, started writing for Fortune.
There you go.
Then I started writing for American Express Open Forum. Then I started writing for American Management Association's M-World. And then I started writing for, let's see, what was the other one? There's a lot of these things that are special purpose publications. So one of the books I wrote, I asked a PR firm to help me with it, the complexity crisis. So they went out and they had me write op-ed pieces that appeared in over 200 publications around the world.
Oh, wow.
And so, meanwhile, as I'm doing this, writing books is a great way to get recognized with people who want to hire you to consult.
Oh.
So I would speak about 5 or 6 or 7 times a year on keynote speeches. I would consult with a handful of big people. Usually, my favorite hire my title was Time-Shared Executive Advisor. If you took over as the new CEO or COO in a company, after being the chief financial officer, you might need somebody to help you coach you along the way.
Yeah.
So I would sign up with a company to come in about every 4 to 6 weeks, and the new president would maybe open the door and say to me, "I think my head's going to explode." And I would say, "Don't sweat that. We've got a solution for that. I'll help you with that."
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that. I did all that for about maybe 15 or 20 years. And pretty soon my wife says, "You're traveling a lot and you're getting up in more years." So I went to take jobs on boards. Well, I said yes at the wrong time. I took over the largest housewares company, one of the largest in America, as non-executive chairman. That was Pyrex, Corningware, Corel, Baker Secret, Revere, Chicago Cutlery. They had like 10 of the best brands in the industry, but they had just gone into Chapter 11 because they had too many brands. They couldn't support them all. So you ought to do that once in a lifetime. Take over a company that you're bringing out of Chapter 11.
Yeah, that's a challenge, man.
Like walking away from an airplane crash.
Oh yeah, I've pulled one company back from the brink of bankruptcy, filing bankruptcy, that had been sabotaged by a business partner. It's not easy, man. It is not.
It is hard.
It is hard. A business takes a long trajectory to get to that point, and to pull, it's kind of like a plane. Like you said, pull that yoke back and try and, so at least straighten out or not.
Yeah, but something.
As you're watching the ground approach you, that it doesn't build confidence and security. So
I can tell the ending of that story to you, Chris, because the name of the company is World Kitchen, and it's a happy ending.
Okay.
After we divested a couple of the brands that we couldn't support and sold off the best product line, but it was a small brand, very profitable. The leader that we brought into the company pulled it out and got it going, and they have new management and came out profitable. And it's still a leader. And Corel is the most sold dinnerware in the world. Nobody knows that. Pyrex dishes, I don't know how many 100 millions. We lost track of keeping count how many of those we made. And we made those in Pennsylvania. And Corel is made in Corning, New York. These are not in China anymore. Some of the Corel stuff, or some of the Corningware stuff went to China, but a lot of it being brought back every chance we can. But I left there when I retired about 10 years ago, and decided I was going to take some time for my wife. My greatest achievement in life is that my wife is my first wife. And I've been married to her for 60 years. 60. And somebody says, "How can you do that?" I said, "You need a very patient woman."
There you go.
A very patient woman.
So do you see yourself writing novels from here on out, and just maybe expand the story, because people love the continuum of protagonists and all that?
I'm gonna see what my wife will agree to.
I see what you've been referring to now. Okay.
So what I do is I agree with her. We go to Florida in the wintertime.
Okay.
And if you get a nice condo down there and it's on the water, you get a lot of free time, which she can't object if I write a little bit of that time, can she? No, of course not. She'll let me do that. And what I've been doing lately, though, is I've been driving her crazy because I told the publisher, he was trying to get somebody to write press releases. Hey, I've written so many stuff. I've written press releases for 25 years. I'll write the press releases for you. You go out and get the stuff you have to pay for, or you have to pull the strings, or you have to get somebody to do it every single day, like posting on Facebook. And so I have a simple philosophy now. Mm-hmm. We talk about it, and when we agree on something, then we do that.
You sure it's just not you do whatever she says?
Yeah, well, you know the saying, if ain't mom happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yeah.
She's a wonderful woman, and she's my polar opposite perfectly. Yeah. And she tolerates me. And so if she hears that I said on your podcast that I'm going to write a whole series of more thrillers.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble.
But the point is, these days, I got more ideas than I have time to write now.
That's true.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get this one going. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and use the leverage of it to get something done in the movies, because once you get in the movies, then they don't want the author involved. Yeah. Right? They want to say, take the book and run with it.
And then your wife's going to want you to write more books so she can meet George Clooney. Eh?
Hey.
He might star in your film.
You're a wise man. I didn't start with what I was going to tell you at the beginning.
This is why I'm not married.
What you've done. I admire what you've done, because you've built a whole career out of what you're doing, which is asking other people to tell you about what they do. And every time you do that, you learn something.
I do. I learn a lot. Sometimes I often wonder, do I learn more off my guests than my audience? I should poll that sometime, but my audience is pretty damn smart after all these years. So as we wrap the show, any final things we want to talk about, tease out, get people to be motivated and check out your book?
I want people, if they want to go find a book that they will feel good when they finish reading it, go buy The Chinese Conspiracy and read it.
There you go.
It's written in simple English. The best criticism I had was I had one serious critic who said, well, the writing is kind of naive. I intended for that. It's for real people.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you make it like a science manual with big words and shit.
No, it is not a techie book. Somebody said, I don't want a techie book. I said, not a techie book. It's a love story. It's a redemption story. The hero comes back to town to try and save his town. It's a story about the big bad guys threatening the poor good guys. And I won't say how it turns out, but it's a very entertaining read. In fact, the best testimony I can give you is not a testimonial. There's a guy that runs a couple of bookstores in Marco Island. I won't say his name. He's a good guy. His name's Stuart. and Stuart didn't want to have book signings down there because he tends to be smart. He hires people to write about Florida because that's what the people down there want to read. But I begged him. So I gave him a copy of The Chinese Conspiracy. This is quite a while back. Mm-hmm. And he called me one day and he said some not so nice things to me about, like, damn you. And I said, what? He said, Stuart, I've been up late the last 4 nights. I said, why? He said, well, I had to finish this book to see how it came out.
That's good.
You
want that. Yeah, that's awesome,
the greatest testimonial I've had, Stuart. Now, I've also
good.
got a couple of other wonderful things that were written by former retired admirals who ran all the naval supply chain. And it's fun writing fiction.
Yeah.
Because Stephen King said it right. Make it up as you go. Don't worry about the details. A few readers will notice them. The rest of them won't.
Yeah.
So if I can find, I'm looking into the next thing to doing is honestly, and I haven't told my wife this, but I'm going to tell in front of 1 million people. Novellas are the new thing these days. Novellas is about a half length, 40% to 60% length of a novel.
Okay.
And novelists love them because in between writing big novels, they can knock
short
one
stories.
of these.
Are they bigger than a short story?
Oh yeah,
but they're not a novel.
A short story is 10 pages or something.
I can get
a novella is like 100 pages. Now in one series,
pages, that's easy to write. I can do that in my sleep, maybe, but I don't know if it'll be good. But yeah,
in one series of my life, I did that in the business books because you've heard the books for dummies that were so big in the U.S. about.
Yeah, we just had somebody on for that.
Well, a British publisher came up with Smart Things to Know. And they printed the first book in the catalog without having a writer. So they called me and said, could you write that one? And I said, yeah. I don't know if I could write. It was Smart Things to Know about brands and branding.
Yeah.
So I picked my Rolodex out or my computer and I said, who do I know who are really smart people in brands and branding besides me? And I got 10 of them to give me some material. And I wrote that book. The next thing you know, I'm writing Smart Things to Know about marketing. Then I'm writing Smart Things to Know about partnerships because my first book was The Power of Partnerships. Then they want me to do 100 pagers. Marketing Express, making partnerships work, just 100 pages.
Wow.
Condensed. And I did that for, the nice thing was I didn't sell them in the U.S. They're not very well known over here, but I sold them all over Europe and other places. And that led to some translations of some of my other books. So the most fun writing books, though, is when I was consulting heavily, when I'd go with a bunch of CEOs and I'd say to them, what's your biggest problem? And the answer was almost the same, finding profitable growth. So guess what my next book was on? Finding profitable growth. We ask the customers what they want. You put it out for them. and it's only 120 or 130 pages long because you don't have to take that much time to tell somebody that. So it works out okay. I'm doing what I like now, and I've had all this experience. One thing I need to tell you, though, that I found is really great fun. 13 years ago, I joined Rotary in Columbus. And Columbus is an old town which has a lot of schools that are in trouble because the students are poor, underserved, and we're trying to rejuvenate the schools. And our Rotary Club in Columbus is doing wonderful things. And so I'm spending a lot of my creative energy there, helping them to rejuvenate the schools in Columbus. And that's a whole story in itself. But never mind that. The Chinese conspiracy has been what I've been trying to get launched and really get going for a long time. So I thank you for letting me do this with you.
Thank you.
And I would love to have another time or two, because I lived in the golden era of business books. Tom Peters, Bob Waterman, Womack, and the Toyota production system, Schoenberger's world-class manufacturing. And in my book, Rocket Ships and Parachutes, I talk about all that, of how I grew up with all these remarkable people. And I jokingly say, and I get credit for being expert, but I'm like Johnny Appleseed. I'm a little bit like you were, except I would go around these places and talk to people and learn from them. And the answer is, you learn a lot.
Oh, yeah, you
Guarantee
do.
That.
My brain is bigger than my head at this point.
Watch you don't have a brain bleed. You won't have a brain bleed, will you?
Yeah, there's been a lot of that going on. That's how I
There's a rumor that some guy uses that in his opening gambit. I don't know.
I love that line. We're working on a soundbite for that where it's like, I'm just here for the brain bleed. Some sort of stupid thing soundbite we can do in the show.
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. I've been all over the map on it, but I think you see the central theme. I spent a career building myself up in business, and then I discovered this world of fiction, and I had fun doing that. And so I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I love this woman I've been married to for 60 years. I've got to take care of her.
She'll tell you what you're going to do.
Well, yeah. And I just did one thing that she wanted. I found a new condo for her in Florida. That's a nice condo.
That'll make her happy.
We're going to be down there a large part of the year, and here in Ohio, watching the Ohio State Buckeyes play football the other part of the year. So
there you go. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Give us your .com one more time as we go out.
TheChineseConspiracy.com. And if you want to see my business career, Mariotti.net.
There you go.
Mariotti, one R and two T's, not like Marriott Hotel. Mariotti.net, TheChineseConspiracy.com. You can see the trailer on YouTube. You can see a website that'll have more than you'll ever want to know about it. I probably give away some secrets on that. And you can find all my books on the website, and you can find almost all of them on Amazon. I think there's maybe one or two that went out of print, but they're all there. I looked at one of the old ones, and it's there now. So I hope that someday we can spend some time talking about the business career, and I'll take you through the most amazing journey you've ever heard on that one too.
All right, John. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in. Order the book wherever fine books are sold. The Chinese Conspiracy, out December 3rd, 2024. To my audience, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you